Chapter 121, Mom Got Injured. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Boncho's left arm was wrapped with gypsum and was being hanged with a bandage. Bloodstains could be seen faintly seeping out from the white bandage. Contrastly, Dingxi's head was completely wrapped. His injury was definitely not light, and similarly, there was also blood seeping out from his bandage. Moreover, his backbone was naked as bandages also plastered his shoulders and back. Other parts of his body also had blue and purple-colored bruises. The other two men were better than Banzhou and Dingxi, but they also had a bleeding nose and swollen faces, with minor injuries on their bodies. The four of them squatted at the corridor's door whilst smoking their cigarettes and keeping watch of the ward number 405, in their opposite direction, for fear that those who had hurt them were extremely bold to rush to the hospital and attack. "Big bro, Banzhou. What did boss say?" Upon seeing that Banzhou put away his phone, Dingxi quickly asked. Banzhou replied with a sinking tone, "Boss said that he'll immediately catch up with us." Dingxi and the others secretly felt relieved. They really admired Tang Xiu's fighting strength. Although they still did not know the specific details about Tang Xiu, since Tang Xiu was able to live in Southgate Town, he seemed to have very powerful connections. If he were to come solve this problem, they believed that he would absolutely be able to do it. Banzhou said, "Dingxi, call Xiaodong and ask him about the investigation. That surname Tai definitely comes from an unordinary background since he's able to gather such a number of youths from the streets. We cannot put all the hopes and work on our boss's shoulders. If our enemy's background is really strong, no matter how or what, we have to gather all of our brothers and fuck them up." "That's right. Our life has just changed for a bit and we can tell that it's getting better, and the good life is getting closer day by day. The boss is so good to us, we've got to fuck them up." Another young man smashed the cigarette but on the ground, stamping it with his foot and fiercely shouted. "Shut up!" Banzhou angrily shouted with a serious expression. That youth grunted, but the fighting spirit in his eyes was particularly strong. Dingxi took out his phone. After having dialed a number, he chatted with someone and then hung up the phone. Then, he spoke with a sank voice. "Xiaodong has been asking around and has affirmed the other party's origin. That Tai Long man has opened a company, and he has 2 sites with many goons. The most important thing is that he has a good relationship with a lot of thugs and gangsters' head. You can say that he's rich and powerful." Wrench said with a sneer, "Even if he's fucking rich, then what about it? Our boss gives us shelter, giving us the opportunity to change our life. We can never forget this, and this matter absolutely cannot be left unfinished. We are not good people to begin with, and we have seen quite a lot of bloody things. If boss is unable to deal with Tai Long, we'll go into hiding and look for the opportunity to strike at Tai Long. Even if we can't slaughter him, we must make him pay the most painful price. After that, we'll go to faraway places, going anonymous and conceal our identity to have another life in other places." The 2 injured youths were hesitating for a moment before they set a firm resolve inside their heart. Then, they replied with a deep voice, "Then, by our mothers, even though we will have a hard time, we'll never make him have a good life. I'll take the lead and be responsible for the knives." Dingxi again and again sneered. He did not speak. He was thinking about the trust Tang Xiu gave to them, recalling as how Tang Xiu gave them their new lives, remembering as how Su Lingyun kindly treated them. This made Dingxi hate Tai Long bitterly. At one of the upscale and big amusement clubhouses in Star City, inside a luxurious decorated KTV private room, Tai Long was smoking his cigar as he took his playing cards and played a poker game with 3 middle-aged men. And around them, 7 or 8 glamorous girls with heavy makeup surrounded them, serving the tea, gently beating their shoulders, rubbing their backs, and doing their best to serve them. A girl was sitting on the thigh of one of the middle-aged men as she fed him grapes. Upon seeing Tai Long showing his cards, the middle-aged man shook his head, hinting that he wouldn't follow the game. He let out a smile that yet unlike a smile as he said, "Old Tai, your luck is so damn good. This game should be your win. It seems like seeing blood for me and you is not the same. Some other time I'll take a few guys to come over to look for some trouble. When we see blood, we'll be sure to kill in a good fight with you and try to win everything." Tai Long said with a sneer, "Bah, seeing blood is indeed not a good thing. This father's bird in the crotch is even hurting right now. That damn slut woman, she dared to kick this father's fucking dick. Even though she looks like a wretched Taoist nun today, but I can tell that she's very beautiful when she was young. Unfortunately, she's too old, so she didn't make this big daddy aroused. Otherwise, I'd make that slut cry in the bed for 3 days and nights." That middle-aged man said with ridicule, "Old Tai, you're damn blown up. Let alone 3 days and nights, I don't think you can even hold for 3 hours. That said, 3 hours under the premise that you gulp down those Dick's erection pills." The other 2 middle-aged big men also laughed heartily and loudly. They looked at Tai Long with an expression full of teasing. Tai Long stared at them and smashed his poker card on the table. Then, his hand forcefully pulled the beautifully make-up hostess, quickly tearing up her clothes, and after some foreplay, he drove straight into the hole. This fucking old Tai. The other 3 big guys looked at each other in dismay as a forced and wry smile revealed on their faces. They had never thought that Tai Long would be unable to bear the teasing and stimulation. He even showcased his power of the spring directly here in front of them, as if it was to prove his ability. Ring ring ring. Tai Long's phone, that he put on the tabletop in front of him, suddenly rang. The hostess girl grabbed the phone with a smiling expression. After glancing at it, she gave it to Tai Long and pressed the answer button per his order and placed it on his ear. "What's up?" Tai Long asked whilst still doing his movements and actions. "Big brother Long, I just heard a friend's reminder. Some chaps are wandering and asking around to find out the details about you." A respectful voice came out of the phone. Tai Long finally stopped his movement and directly sat on the chair as he asked with a sinking tone, "What's the origin of that party?" "Currently, it's unclear." Tai Long's mood soured up clean by this call. After he put on his pants back, he pulled the woman hurriedly to the side as he looked at the 6 flabbergasted visions. Then, he said with a sneer, "Someone is investigating me behind my back. And that fucker is investigating my younger brother beneath me." The middle-aged man who was eating grapes frowned and lightly said, "This could be a bad thing. For people like us there's a saying that fear not for the thieves who steal, but fear for the thieves who think and scheme. Who have you annoyed to court this trouble? Is there any powerful figure you have offended recently?" Tai Long shook his head and said, "The works on the site project is very smooth. There are indeed a few guys there, but I've reached some agreements with them. In addition, those chaps also know my inside story, there's no way it would be them investigating me. Besides, I keep low-key recently, and have not offended even a soul." One of the big guys' expression moved as he said, "How haven't you offended anyone? You hit a woman and she's hospitalized now, remember? Could she have any background?" Tai Long said with a sneer, "That's impossible. I've asked around and it's perfectly clear that the woman comes from the countryside. A widowed mother and an orphan. Also, she relies on her restaurant business to make a living. Holy motherfucker, do you think this big daddy has offended such a sacred deity, for them to investigate me behind my back on my own turf?" That middle-aged big guy lightly said, "If it isn't her, then you've got to be careful. Who could have known if her, whose arms were broken by you, has a connection with anyone? She could even be connected with this unknown party and court more trouble. Do remember that an enemy in the dark is the most fearsome." Tai Long was silent for a moment as he dialed a few numbers and made some calls. After that, only then did he speak, the lot of you two should not be idle. Help me find out who is it. You have various methods and means, so maybe you can find out who they are. Fine. The three men glanced at each other and nodded in unison. They were indeed Tai Long's friends. But the interests that were being involved here were way too much. If the party they would have to investigate was only a small fish, they would naturally help Tai Long, because he, after all, was very important to all of them. But if the opposite party's strength was too powerful, they would immediately withdraw. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, Tang Xiu got off from Long Shuiao's car and let her go back directly. He did not mind about Long Shuiao's polite offer before, since their relationship had yet to reach the point that he could ask for her help. Perhaps, the reason as to why Long Shuiao offered her help was to give him face. When he rushed to the 6th floor of the hospital and arrived outside the number 405 ward's door, he saw Banzhou and Dingxi squatting at both sides of the door. Tang Xiu strode over and asked with a gloomy expression, "How are your injuries?" Upon seeing Tang Xiu, a bit of happy expression was revealed on Banzhou and Dingxi's eyes, as they also felt a warm feeling when they heard Tang Xiu's question. Banzhou said, "Boss, don't mind our injuries. We're fine, and it won't be a problem after recuperation and training for some time. But Big Boss has undergone a surgery last night, since her arm bone is fractured. I'm afraid her right arm won't be able to lift anything later. But doing some other things shouldn't be a problem." Comminuted fracture? That serious? A chilling murderous intent exuded from Tang Xiu's eyes. He nodded and pushed open ward number 405. When he went in, he suddenly smelled an unpleasant stench. This ward number 405 had 3 beds, and each one of them was occupied with a patient. Moreover, there were also the patient's family members in other 2 patient beds, and was very noisy. "Mom, how are you?" Tang Xiu strode as he arrived in front of Su Lingyun's bed and asked with deep concern on his face. Su Lingyun was half lying on the bed. Upon seeing Tang Xiu, she immediately shook her head and said, "Son, I'm fine. But how about Banzhou and the others? I told them that I'm fine and not to tell you about this. But it turns out they do not listen to me." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "It's I that ordered them to inform me as fast as possible if anything happens to you. Because of some particular reasons yesterday, I couldn't answer their call promptly. So I come late." Su Lingyun said, "Son, you only have less than a month to face the college entrance test. You mustn't let this affect your studies. You don't need to take care of me here, since Banzhou and the others are already enough to take care of things here. You just quickly go back to school." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "Mom, I already know about everything that caused this accident. And I will never let that surnamed Tai go. You don't need to hide the truth from me since Banzhou has already told me about it. You can rest assured. I have made Banzhou and the others reform for the better. And I can make those people who injured you come and apologize. You only need to rest and recuperate well here. As for other things, I'll solve them." Su Lingyun exclaimed in a restless expression, "Son, don't act recklessly. They are very powerful and are people you cannot touch. Besides, as long as I stay for some time in the hospital, those people's anger will all disappear eventually, and they will not bother us any longer." Chapter 122, A Wretched Ball. Looking at a worried expression on his mother's face, Tang Xiu was silent for a moment. Then, he nodded and slowly said, "Then, I'll listen to you that I won't find them and avoid the trouble. But Mom, if you have anything you need you must tell me even though I'll let Banzhou and the others take care of it. But I must stay in the hospital to accompany you as long as you are hospitalized here." Su Lingyun replied angrily, "No, you must go back to school. If this matter affects your college entrance test, I'll be better off die and let it pass." Tang Xiu opened his mouth but unable to say something. He was perfectly aware of his mother's character. If he insisted on staying here, perhaps she would really do something unthinkable. Fine, I'll go back. Tang Shou sighed inside. He looked around the hospital ward and then said, however, before I leave you must agree to my request. Su Lingyun asked, and that is? Tang Shou said, you have to change the ward. It's dirty and messy here. This ward is simply not a place for a human to stay. If you stay in this place to recuperate, I will keep worrying about you. About 7 or 8 family members of the other 2 patients suddenly got incensed after they heard Tang Shou's words, as they spoke out of anger. What the hell? Young man, what did you just say? This is a Chinese medical hospital's inpatient department. How could it be dirty and messy? How the hell could it be not a place for a human to stay? Are you out of your mind? That's right. The condition here is already good enough, but you even despise it. Do you think you have the ability to move your mother to the first-class ward? The likes of you are only able to be hospitalized only by sneaking in. But you unexpectedly even go as far as talking shit like this. You are but only a student, but you talk too big. If it weren't for your mother opening the restaurant with hardships and making money for your study, food, and clothing, you would have long been starved to death on the streets. But you are just so damn crazy, wanting to have revenge for your mother. If you do have the ability, move your mother to the first-class ward first. This Chinese medical hospital indeed has VIP wards, but it's only for those of the richest and influential people. But you only open a small restaurant. Even I can tell that you don't have that much wealth and money, and neither do you have good contacts. How could it be possible for you to get the VIP ward? You're talking big and ashamed yourself here. Youngster nowadays is really unrealistic. Just wait until you truly enter the society and know how difficult it is to make money. You've got to be just like those of capable and resourceful people that have the rights to be condescending and arrogant to stand up. You're just like the one who get along with those bastards and pull your proud head up. Big sister, your son is. Oh. Tang Xiu did not expect that his words would attract so much ridicule and mockery. And at the moment, he was barely able to suppress the fire inside his heart, and he had yet to vent the blazing flame. After hearing such clamors from these people who shouted at the same time, he suddenly turned furious and immediately shouted, "Shut the fuck up." Everyone closed their mouth. With a stupefied expression, they looked at the furious expression on Tang Xiu's face. 2 youths were even looking at Tang Xiu with an ugly expression and looked like they wanted to storm him over. However, when they recalled the group of people who were waiting for Su Lingyun, of whom each and every one of them was not some friendly chaps, they immediately suppressed the urge down. Humans did have the nature to bully the weak and fear the strong. Therefore, the 2 youths only grunted and turned away with anger. Son, don't be so rude. With a quite happy and amused expression, Su Lingyun stared at Tang Xiu and reprimanded him. After then, she immediately apologized to the people inside the ward. Tang Xiu took out his mobile phone and called Long Zhengyu. "Hello, brother Tang? You finally turn on your phone. I've been calling you for many times these 2 days, and not even once have I been able to connect to you. I also went to the villa in Southgate Town, but your housekeeper blocked me out of the door. Where are you right now? I need to see you now since there is something I need to talk to you about." Long Zhengyu's voice came out from the phone. Tang Xiu said with sank tone, "I don't have time to talk about other things with you. The reason I called you is that I want to ask, do you have any acquaintances at Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? Somebody has injured my mom, and she's in an ordinary ward right now. I want her to be moved to the VIP ward. It's fine if I have to spend some money." Long Zhengyu replied with anger, "Who the hell has injured Auntie? You wait there, and I'll rush immediately. I'll call the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's president on the way. He's my dad's old classmate. The Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's new hospital building is also built by the Long family. Then, quickly come. After having said that, Tang Xiu directly hung up the phone. After a moment, Long Zhengyu called back and it made Tang Xiu surprised. From the phone Long Zhengyu asked him with a funny and awkward tone, "Brother Tang, you didn't tell me your mother's name and in which ward she's been hospitalized. Even if I contact the president, he won't be able to find her." Tang Xiu blushed as he told her mother's name and the ward's number to Long Zhengyu. After then, he hung up the phone. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Inside a spacious and neat president office, Li Hongji was standing in front of the potted bonsai and watering it. He was nearly 60 years old. He had long been working hard to make a living regardless of any hardships all these years. And the distance, his retirement was also approaching fast. Therefore, he began to delegate the works and decentralize the power and privileges to the others, while he, himself was immersed in self-mental and spiritual cultivation, raising plants and herbs, and even hung up a few bird cages in his home to raise a few wame birds. He had been engaged in medical works for many years and his attainment in traditional Chinese medical arts was very high. Even he was one of the influential figure in the domestic Chinese medical field. Certainly, one of the most important thing about him was his master, the divine Dr. Goei Jianzhou. However, except from a few people who knew about this matter, most people did not know about it. That kid Guoxiong. He has lost his face greatly on Jingmen Island, and now he even comes to Star City. Perhaps if Master knew about this, he would receive rain of curses from Master. A smiling expression hung on Li Hongji's mouth. He was somewhat felt funny as he thought about his junior brother's losing face matter. Anyway, to be able to cure that little girl's strange illness, from where does that youth come from? Last year, Mu Qingping also came to me here. But it was unfortunate that I was really at a loss and helpless as to what kind of strange illness it was. But now the little girl's strange illness unexpectedly has been cured by that youth. I don't know which divine doctor's disciple that youth is. Li Hongji put the sprinkle pot on the windowsill. When he just returned to his desk, the phone he put on the desk rang. He picked up the phone and saw the caller ID. A surprised expression immediately cast on his face because he knew the caller turned out to be his old classmate's son, who was now well known as the great talent of business society, Long Zhengyu. What does he want me to do? With a surprised expression hung on his face, Li Hongji pressed the answer button as he then spoke with a laugh, "Zhengyu, are you looking for me? Did your father make you send nice wine for me?" Long Zhengyu said, "Uncle Li, haven't you had drunk up my dad's wine not too long ago?" Li Hongji burst into a laughter as he then said, "You kid, I do have that bad habit, don't I? Well, by the way, let's get to the point then. You have any request you are looking me for?" Long Zhengyu quickly said, "Uncle Li, it's far from any instruction though. But I do have a really important thing so I need to find you for." Important things? Rarely had Li Hongji heard Long Zhengyu said something in such a serious manner. The smiling expression on his face quickly faded away as he asked with a sinking tone, "Do tell me." Long Zhengyu said, "Uncle Li, my friend's mother is being hospitalized in your Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. He wants to move his mother to the VIP ward. Could you stretch the rules and accommodate his request?" Li Hongji was surprised and said, "It's only such a minor matter?" Long Zhengyu let out a forced smile as he said, "It's maybe a minor thing for you, but for me it's very important. Recently, you drank with my dad, so you must have heard about him also, yes? He's Tang Xiu, a youth younger than me, and a high schooler." Tang Xiu? The name spun rapidly inside Li Hongji's mind. In the split second his complexion turned particularly serious as he asked with a deep tone, "Is he not Qin Jizhong's master?" "Yes," Long Zhengyu said. Li Hongji said, since Tang Xiu is Chen Zhizhong's master, how come he didn't ask for Chen Zhizhong's help? You do know that Chen Zhizhong and I are friends for decades, and this Chinese medical hospital also has a lot of business agreements with him. As long as he speaks, he doesn't need to find me since I can arrange some people to take care of it properly. Long Zhengyu said with a laugh, I look forward for him to look for me, and this is a huge favor I could have. Uncle Li, for now you don't know that a favor that Tang Xiu owes is very valuable. I have 2 friends from Beijing and they want to befriend Tang Xiu. They've even decided to prepare their family's wealth to invest billions of funds and divert the capital for the business investment to our star city. And for the shares, it's like that they will give him some of the shares. Li Hongji asked with a shocked tone, what's Tang Xiu's background? I couldn't tell about it clearly from your father. Since you have a good relationship with him, you should know more than your dad, no? Long Zhengyu wryly smiled, what I know about him, in fact, even if no more, it is as minuscule as my father's. But Tang Xiu is unfathomably deep. Li Hongji said, okay, then. I'll take care of this matter and immediately arrange his mother to the VIP ward. All medical expenses are exempted. Long Zhengyu replied with a laugh, thank you, Uncle Li. Li Hongji wryly smiled and said, do not thank me. After you've stolen the good wines your father has to honor me, I'm satisfied enough. Long Zhengyu said with a laugh, rest assured uncle. You'll have a good wine to honor you from me. I guarantee that. The phone was hung up. The smiling expression on Li Hongji's face had gone and his expression turned a lot more serious. He pondered for a moment and then dialed the vice president's number. After conveying his command, he then silently walked toward his office chair and quietly sat down. Tang Xiu? The name was somewhat familiar, was it because Long Hanwen had told him before? No. It's absolutely not. Aside from Long Hanwen, there should be someone else who said the name to him. Who was this person? As pondering expression flashed from Li Hongji's eyes, he fell into silence. Inside ward number 405, on the 6th floor of the inpatient department, Tang Xiu personally packed his mother's clothes and daily necessities as the voice of a middle-aged woman suddenly sounded in a harsh tone. What is he packing for? What a putting up an act. A high school student really thinks that he can move his mother to a VIP ward by only making a phone call? The ones who can stay in the VIP wards are only rich patients. How could it possibly cheap? Tui. After having said that, she wiped the mucus on her nose with a toilet paper and fiercely smashed it on the floor as she walked along the sickbed bedside, and sat down. Chapter 123, Pleading Voices. Tang Xiu turned around and looked at her as he coldly snorted and ignored her. Seeing that Tang Xiu kept silent, the middle-aged woman thought that Tang Xiu had a guilty conscience. She suddenly turned more arrogant as her words, becoming harsher, turned silent. How's my words? Feeling to have disgraced yourself? I advise you not to think about moving your mother to other wards. There's no need to make you look great by putting up another act to slap yourself. Much less that your mother is injured now. If you do have a filial piety, don't toss her around. Young man. A youth without facial hair cannot be relied upon. You're really resembling this proverb. Finally, Tang Xiu stopped his action. He looked at the middle-aged man who was half sitting on the sickbed, reading the newspaper. Then, he lightly replied, do you believe that I can make the hospital to kick your man out? Have I spoken incorrectly? He's your man, isn't he? The middle-aged woman stared at him as her voice increased a few decibels when she raged out, if you have the guts, say that again? You think you can overturn the heaven and got the ability to drive us away? This old lady wants to see if you, a high schooler brat, are able to overturn the sky. The middle-aged man who sat on the sickbed put down the newspaper as he looked at Tang Xiu and said with a sneer, brat, don't talk big words and end up biting your own tongue. Your mother is a good person with a gentle personality, sensible and thoughtful. How could she even give birth to such an insensible and unthoughtful son? I really am pitying her because of you. Tang Xiu shook his head as he turned around and continued packing up things. It was really as the saying goes, blame not the whole family. Just don't enter their whole clan. The middle-aged man and woman were truly worthy to be a couple. They did have something in common. Such a type of people was the kind that Tang Xiu had always been too lazy to respond to. On the other hand, Su Lingyun had never expected that the usually well-behaved and sensible son of hers would be just like the embodiment of evils today, even he said such words to offend people. Upon hearing the words from the middle-aged man on the next bed, she hastily said, "Big brother, please don't lower yourself to bicker with my son. My son is not sensible and thoughtful. I'll teach him later." The sarcastic middle-aged woman suddenly shouted, "Sister. My husband is right, how come you give birth to this kind of thing? You also heard what your son has said, no? He said that this place is not a place a human can stay, even he added that he can make the hospital to drive us away. His arrogance is way too rampant," and soared to the sky. Creak. Tang Xiu's brows wrinkled and was about to speak when the ward's door was forced open from the outside. A group of doctors in white coat followed around the middle-aged doctor as they entered the ward. A lot of people inside the ward knew well that person was the leader. He was this inpatient department's director and someone with a real power. "I'm really sorry for disturbing you everyone. Excuse me, may I ask which is Mr. Tang Xiu?" The inpatient department's director asked with a probing expression as he asked with a very polite tone. "Looking for Tang Xiu?" With such a polite tone and expression? The sarcastic middle-aged woman as well as her husband on the sickbed suddenly looked at each other in dismay as a bad premonition was breeding inside their hearts. "It's me." Tang Xiu stopped packing up things and replied lightly. The inpatient department's direction quickly came over with smiling expression on his face. He then respectfully said, "Hello Mr. Tang. I truly apologize that we didn't know that this lady is your mother. So we did have neglected her slightly. I just received the call from Vice President Gao to personally lead the doctors to come here. Vice President Gao in the phone has said that he would rush here immediately and he has prepared the best VIP ward. Your mother can move there at any time." "Thank you." Tang Xiu nodded and said. With very flattering looks, the inpatient department's director replied repeatedly, "Don't mention it, don't mention it. This is what we should do." Tang Xiu said, "Please wait for a moment. I'll have to pack up my mother's things first. Moreover, her body is not in a good condition, you should send wheel stretcher here." The inpatient department's director hastily replied, "I'll have someone send a wheel stretcher here." At the side, the couple had been struck stunned. It was not only them but also those people who ridiculed Tang Xiu before. They looked at the scene with a dumbfounded expression and tongue-tied. Never in their dreams had they ever thought that not only was Tang Xiu not bragging, but he was this awesome to this degree. Who was this inpatient department's director? In their eyes, this person was a great figure, an aloof and remote influential person. An inpatient department's director of whom they must speak with him with a deferential manner. But now, the very aloof and remote person turned out facing Tang Xiu in a respectful manner. Was he really a high school student? This thought emerged inside everyone's mind. I really apologize that I come late. Excuse me, may I ask which is Mr. Tang Xiu, outside of the ward? Gao Jianmin was nearly running as he rushed in with 4 or 5 hospital's leaders behind him. After having gotten informed from the inpatient department's director, which person Tang Xiu was, he immediately spoke with a smile all over his face, "Mr. Tang, the VIP ward has been prepared and your mother will be sent there later. In addition, all of the medical expenses for your mother are on the hospital. If you need anything else that we need to provide, we'll do our utmost to provide it. What? The complexion of the sarcastic middle-aged woman who was just ridiculed Tang Xiu turned pale as white paper. A look of disbelief flashed in her eyes as her body was shivering. How could she not be shaken? The vice president himself said that he would do his utmost to satisfy any of Tang Xiu's requests. Had Tang Xiu said the words to drive away she and her husband, wasn't it the same that she killed her husband and would become the target of curses of all the family's relatives? Moreover, her husband was here to wait for surgery and he had been arranged to have it for over half a month, before he was able to enter the operating theater room. And suddenly there was such a small moth emerging here. How could her husband's illness condition be able to face any delay? What would become of her future later? The middle-aged man in the sickbed also panicked. He fiercely stared at his wife and the expression as he looked at Tang Xiu had turned into fear and trepidation. Inside the president's office, Li Hongji rubbed his top of the head. He racked his brain for a long time and he did not expect that he would hear such a familiar name. Apart from Long Hanwen, from whoever else had he heard this name? Ring ring ring. His phone rang again. Li Hongji grabbed the phone. Upon seeing the caller ID, a smile suddenly cast on his face as he said, "Junior brother, I've been waiting for you to go back. If you feel that you're bored, you can enter my studying room and have a look at my book collection. There are some which are written and contained master's medical knowledge attainments. Senior brother, I'll look at those later. Staying inside your studying room is really boring. I'm planning to go to Beijing. I heard that master's traces appeared in the capital." Chu Guoxing's voice transmitted out of the phone. The capital? Li Hongji's spirit was startled as he spoke with a sank voice. "Junior brother, if you find master, do remember to inform me as fast as possible. I need to pay respects to him." "All right." Chu Guoxiang promised. Li Hongji then said with a laugh, "Junior brother, you come and leave in a hurry. I, as your senior brother, do not even have the chance to entertain you." Right, about the matters a couple days ago, don't put that in mind. You do know that there's a mountain above the mountain. And there are so many hidden masters hiding in the vastness of the world. If master knew about this, he will laugh at you." His words abruptly came to an end. His eyes instantaneously turned saucer. The answers he was trying to find, he tried to rack his brain off, came out inadvertently in between his speech. Tang Xiu? Wasn't it the name of the young divine doctor who had cured the strange illness Mu Qingping's daughter had? And smacked his junior brother's face? Right, his junior brother did once mention this name. The youth was called Tang Xiu. Could it be that the Tang Xiu in Jingmen Island was the same with this very Tang Xiu at the moment? Li Hongji quickly bade farewell to his junior brother Chu Guoxiang and hurriedly hung up the phone. With that thought in mind, he dialed Long Zhengyu's number. "Hello, Uncle Li." Long Zhengyu's voice transmitted from the mobile phone. Li Hongji asked with a rapid pace, "Zhengyu, I want to ask you and you must tell me truthfully. A few days ago, you said that Tang Xiu has gone somewhere. Where did he go?" Long Zhengyu replied with a confused tone, "Uncle Li, why did you ask about this? Everything is perfectly all right, no? A few days ago Tang Xiu did have something to do and went to Jingmen Island. He just came back a few days ago." "Jingmen Island?" Li Hongji exclaimed in surprise. Long Zhengyu asked once again, "Uncle Li, what happened? Everything is perfectly all right, no? Why did you ask about Tang Xiu's matter? And it seems that something surprising has happened when he went to Jingmen Island, no?" Li Hongji said with a wry smile, "A few days ago, my junior brother came from Jingmen Island. He lost his face in Jingmen Island. It could even be said that he also has implicated my master's reputation. And the person who made him lost his face greatly is this Tang Xiu. I did not tell you about this before. Anyway, I have to meet this Tang Xiu now. Hello, hello. Li Hongji did not want to speak any longer with Long Zhengyu as he spoke hurriedly. After he hung up the phone, he rushed out of his office door and strode toward the inpatient department. Puff. Inside the ward number 405 in the inpatient department on the 6th floor, the deathly pale middle-aged woman straightly knelt before Tang Xiu. With a frightened expression on her face, she pleaded piteously, Tang Xiu. No. Brother Tang, please blame me for having eyes but fails to see empty tie. I did act like a snob. But, you're a magnanimous adult, so please don't let the hospital's authorities to kick my husband out. We've been staying here for more than half a month only to be listed in a surgery queue. And in just a moment of mistakes, we did burn ourselves and wronged you. Please give us some slack and show your kindness, and don't let them drive us away. In the instant moment, the doctors who came to this ward, all of them revealed a strange expression. In contrast, all the people who previously mocked and ridiculed Tang Xiu showed a worried expression on their faces. Another patient on the sickbed let out a forced smile as he said, Brother Tang, it's our mistake. And we did wrong you before. I've made a lot of mistakes in judging others in my life, but this time is the most mistaken one. Please forgive these ignorant people like us and don't lower yourself to the same level as us. Your mother is a good person and I'm sure you're one also. Gao Jianmin said with a surprised tone, Mr. Tang, this is. Tang Xiu shook his head. He waved his hand and motioned to a middle-aged woman who knelt in front of him to stand up, and then lightly said, You have said yourself that you acted like a snob. So I hope you'll pay attention to it in the future that carelessness and curses might court you troubles. Later on, you should speak less as to avoid to court disaster for your family. After having said that, only then did he speak to Gao Jianmin, It's just a minor thing, a small misunderstanding. I'm really sorry for troubling everyone for the matter of moving my mother to another ward. Gao Jianmin looked at the middle-aged woman deeply before he replied to Tang Xiu with a smile, Mr. Tang, please rest assured that I'll certainly arrange everything properly. Chapter 124, The Invitation to Work and Serve. At the door. Banzhou, Dingzi, and the others looked at what happened in the ward with a dumbfounded expression and were stumped for words. They saw that the middle-aged woman mocked and ridiculed Tang Xiu as well as seeing as how those patients' family members regarded Tang Xiu with contempt. But now, the situation had turned 180 degrees in reversal. The boss was so amazingly awesome. The four of them were full of excitement and their worship toward Tang Xiu was raised a bit higher. After all, only a few people could have such an ability to make the vice president of the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital rush over with only a phone call. The worship of the Tang Xiu rose a little higher. At this moment, the intention to follow Tang Xiu became firmer inside these four people's heart. Shortly after, Tang Xiu had packed up his mother's clothing, daily necessities, and some other things. After he called Banzhou, Dingzi, and the two others, he cautiously propped up Su Lingyun with his arm for her to sit. At the moment, Su Lingyun was still stunned with shocks. She did not know her own son, as she did not expect that her son would really be able to move her to the VIP ward. Finally, Su Lingyun sobered up from her shocked state as she looked at Tang Xiu with a complex expression in her eyes. Then, she spoke with a low voice, Sonny, I think staying here is already good enough, I don't want to go. Tang Xiu interrupted Su Lingyun and said, Mom, the environment there should be better than here. Moreover, there are too many people here. So it's quite inconvenient for Banzhou and Dingzi to take care of you in this ward. Please do listen to me. And let me take care of this. Fine then. In front of the presence of so many people, Su Lingyun finally did not insist anymore and accepted it. Her son's filial piety, she could clearly feel it and it gave her full warm feeling inside. Sorry, I come late. The awakening voice sounded at the door as Li Hongji entered the door with sweats faintly permeated on his forehead. He looked around before his sight finally fell onto Tang Xiu. President. The ward doctors, the hospital's leaders, including Gao Jianmin, respectfully greeted Li Hongji in a respectful manner. Li Hongji nodded as he looked at Tang Xiu with a smile all over his face and said, "You are Tang Xiu? It's so true that hero comes out of the youths. Your distinguished name is like a thunder reverberating in my ears with your well-known reputation. I'm Li Hongji, the president of this Star City Chinese Medical Hospital." President Li. Tang Xiu calmly nodded at Li Hongji in an indifferent manner since he had yet to have any relation with him. Everyone in the ward, especially the sarcastic and garrulous couple, were so frightened that they were almost paralyzed on the spot. Never in their dream had they ever expected that the Chinese medical hospital's vice president had come as the president himself, then even rushed over. And looking at his amiable appearance, it seemed like he also came to curry a favor from Tang Xiu. The others' faces turned uglier a bit. They were really afraid that Tang Xiu would mention the old issue again. If he spoke about it to the hospital's president, they would absolutely be driven away from the hospital. Even Banzhou, Dingxi, and the other two were looking at Li Hongji with a dumbstruck expression. For a long time, the shocks in their hearts were unable to be calmed down. Li Hongji's brows slanted. He did not care about such an indifferent manner Tang Xiu gave him as he said with a smile, "Tang Xiu, my junior brother came to Star City a few days ago. He told everything to me about the issue that made him disgrace himself. Do you want to know about it?" Tang Xiu's brow wrinkled and he indifferently said, "If you want to talk about the daily life, wait until I settle my mother first. If you want to help, then it would be best if you start now. As for you, the issue with your junior brother, I don't have the interest, neither do I want to know about it." Xiu. How can you talk to the president like that? Su Lingyun reprimanded Tang Xiu hurriedly. The president of this Chinese medical hospital was a great amazing man in her eyes. The president obviously greeted politely, but her precious son did not even give him the face. Tang Xiu sighed helplessly. He looked at Li Hongji and said, "Well, okay, then. If you want to say anything, please do say." An awkward expression flashed on Li Hongji's face as he said with a wry smile, "Tang Xiu, you are a young divine doctor who has cured Mu Qingping's daughter's strange illness on Jingmen Island's medicinal herb market a few days ago, right?" "Chu Guoxiong is my junior brother." "Chu Guoxiong?" Tang Xiu remembered the divine doctor's disciple who spouted the cynical remarks at him for many times and finally disgraced himself. Then he immediately asked, "Gui Jianshou is also your master, yes?" Li Hongji admitted happily, "Yes, he's indeed my master." Tang Xiu said, "The temperament of your junior brother is not good. So the disgrace is a deserved result for him, as it should be. If he's still troubled with that matter and takes it to his heart, please do me a favor and tell him. For doctors to carry the profound virtue along the way, leave the ignorant and narrow-minded habit, and also never judge anyone solely by appearance again." Li Hongji's complexion changed. From these words, he could tell that Tang Xiu indirectly admitted that he was the person on Jingmen Island who had cured the strange illness Mu Qingping's daughter had. Instead of getting angry, Li Hongji said with an excited expression, "Mr. Tang, in fact, I also have diagnosed the strange illness Mu Qingping's daughter had, but I could only sense her body condition and unable to cure it since I have no means nor the ability. I didn't expect that you have cured her. So I have a presumptuous request. I don't know if you can comply to this request of mine." Tang Xiu said with knitted brows, "Please do tell." With face filled with anticipation, Li Hongji said, "Can I hire you to become the visiting expert for our Chinese medical hospital? Don't worry, I'll give you the best and the highest treatments and specifications." Tang Xiu waved his hand to interrupt Li Hongji. Then, he said, "I'm sorry. I'm not interested. Let alone that I'm still a student and I will soon have my college entrance test, so I have no time to become a visiting doctor in the hospital." With a stunned expression, Li Hongji looked at Tang Xiu with disbelief written all over his face. Tang Xiu was a student? A high schooler who was about to take the college entrance test? Was this a massive joke? Everyone inside the ward was shocked and shaken upon hearing Li Hongji's words. They had never dreamed that Li Hongji would even propose such a request toward Tang Xiu. With a strange expression in his eyes, Gao Jianmin looked at Tang Xiu as he pulled Li Hongji's clothes and whispered, "President, you aren't kidding, are you?" "But Mr. Tang's age?" Li Hongji turned his head and glared angrily at Gao Jianmin as he shouted, "What about his age? Do you also see him as being too young? Have you not just heard the message he wants me to pass to my junior brother? You do know my master, don't you? He's the divine doctor, Gue Jianqiu. You also have stayed in the Chinese medical hospital for more than 2 decades, so don't tell me you haven't heard about my master's name." His 2 personal disciples were unable to cure a sickness, while Tang Xiu is the one who capable to cure it. Do you think I will joke about things like this? Gao Jianmin was speechless. He also had diagnosed the strange illness Mu Qingping's daughter had. And it's really just like Li Hongji said, he was also unable to cure that child's strange illness. At the moment, only Su Lingyun who was still sober. From the beginning, she did not believe what Li Hongji had said, so she spoke with a low voice, "President, my son could never be a doctor, could it be that you are mistaken?" Li Hongji replied with a serious expression, "No. I'm not mistaken. He was on Jingmen Island a few days ago, and my junior brother has said that the person must be him." Su Lingyun turned her head to look at Tang Xiu and asked in a low voice, "Xiu. You tell me, were you on Jingmen Island a few days ago? Tell me the truth." Whilst sighing inside, Tang Xiu said with a forced smile, "Mom, I indeed was on Jingmen Island a couple days ago, and the person who cured that sick child was also myself. I didn't tell you before because I felt that I don't need to. I usually feel bored when I've got nothing to do, so I often flip through medical books. But I didn't expect that the written information in the book is correct. Thus, I can cure that child's sickness accidentally." After having said that, he looked at Li Hongji and continued, "Let's stop this matter now. Besides, my mother is injured and she needs to rest." Li Hongji looked at Tang Xiu deeply. He could tell from Tang Xiu's attitude that he was really reluctant to be a visiting doctor at the Chinese medical hospital. Even if he seemingly avoided his mother intentionally, he indeed did not want his mother to know that he was an expert in medical knowledge. The grade of the inpatient department VIP wards was higher than that of the ordinary ones. Not only was it a spacious single room, but there were also special care nurses who were responsible for the patient's care. Tang Xiu had long known that there was a caste, a social class that divided people in ranks. But he did not expect that the disparity between the two was huge to this extent. Li Hongji was an experienced and sensible person. He could tell that Tang Xiu did not like to be followed by so many people, so he sent the order to other hospitals' authorities to leave and left behind the inpatient department's director, only to accompany him. After having settled everything, he took the opportunity when Tang Xiu went out of the ward as he said again his request sincerely in the corridor, "Tang Xiu, I don't know what you had in mind before, so I spoke something I shouldn't say in front of your mother. I hope you don't mind it. But I sincerely beg you to become a visiting doctor for our Chinese medical hospital. Even if you cannot come regularly, please help us to solve various illnesses we cannot cure or solve the incurable disease we have here. I really don't have free time." Tang Xiu replied in dissatisfaction. Li Hongji said with a forced smile, "Tang Xiu, there is less than a month's time, mustn't you attend the college entrance test? But after you have attended it, there will be 2 months of vacation. You don't need to worry that we will disturb you when you are busy. Nowadays, there are a lot of illnesses our Chinese medical hospitals doctors that are at a loss and are unable to do anything. As a doctor, We can only watch those patients be tormented by their ailments one by one whilst watching the desperate expression on their family members' faces. And those feelings are the most uncomfortable things that we, doctors, have to bear. Just count this as a plea that this old man is begging from you. Just come to our hospital whenever you have a free time. Begging. Tang Xiu secretly turned supercilious inside. This old man really could sing in a good voice and emotion. And his expression was really sincere, even making him not know how to refuse. After having stayed silent for a while, Tang Xiu slowly said, "Once every month. I'll arrange the time myself." Li Hongji quickly said, 3 times a month, once every 10 days. Tang Xiu stared at him. If it were not his mother that was hospitalized in his hospital, coupled with their politeness, he would have been too lazy to pay attention to this old guy. After having pondered for a few seconds, he said, "Twice a month. And the time depends on me. Otherwise, you can forget it and don't disturb me." Li Hongji was overjoyed inside. He secretly made up his mind to take the opportunity to utilize everything in these twice-a-month schedule. A bright smiling expression hung on his face as he said, "I'll give you my ID card."
Ah.
By the way, do you have a medical certificate to give medical service? Tang Xiu replied indifferently, "I told you that I'm a student, didn't I? Besides, why should I have that? I don't even want to become a doctor in the future." Li Hongji secretly smiled wryly as he also sighed inside his heart. Geniuses were indeed eccentric. But still, he accompanied the awkwardness with a smile and said, "Since you have none, I'll take care of it personally for you. However, it would take some time. Nowadays, everything is based on diplomas and certificates. Having these things would make it easier for one to mix in society." Chapter 125, Incited Crowd. For a moment, Tang Xiu was surprised before he nodded. He suddenly recalled a line that said, "Having documents and credentials would make it very easy for one to travel all over the world, and it would be difficult without one." The line was the evolved version of the line that said, "Having money, one would easily traverse the whole world, and you can never move without money." This was just the naked explanation to illustrate the importance of social documents in the real world. In this era, one would not only need to look at the face, but also the certificate. "Then, I won't worry about it, since you can take care of those matters. I'll wait for your news." Tang Xiu said indifferently as he gave a gesture to leave to Li Hongji. Li Hongji looked at Tang Xiu's manner and secretly smiled wryly inside his heart. To think that he, a dignified divine doctor's personal disciple, the president of the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, a master of medical fields expert and professors, had no choice but to be submissive before Tang Xiu, it was unexpected. What a damn tough prick. Even though his mental and spiritual cultivation had achieved a high attainment, but still, Li Hongji's heart could not bear to burst out such profane words. Along with the departure of Li Hongji and the inpatient department's director, Tang Xiu looked at Banzhou, Dingzi, and the others again. Then, he spoke with a deep tone, "Now, tell me everything in detail. How come that Tai Long had a conflict with you? He even dares to beat my mom?" A bit of anger was exposed on Banzhou's face as he said, "At noon yesterday, we were helping at the restaurant. And because we had too many patrons, there was a long queue of guests waiting. So Tai Long, who took a few people with him, wanted us to drive away some guests who had occupied the tables. Big Boss didn't want to do it, so Tai Long began to beat people. At that time, the 4 of us were inside the restaurant, so we hadn't fought with them, but then Big Boss got injured. Afterward, they completely drove away all the restaurant's patrons, they even began to smash the restaurant. After we sent Big Boss to the hospital and then prepared to go out to purchase daily necessities, we were attacked by more than 20 guys at the front door. So we got back to the hospital after having been beaten savagely. That Tai Long also threatened that, Unless Big Boss kowtowed to him to apologize and compensate for the spiritual and emotional loss to his satisfaction, he will forever make us stay in the hospital. And if we were to try to leave the hospital even by one step, they will beat us savagely. Dingxi once attempted to go out and he had been beaten once. Tang Shou laughed in extreme anger and said repeatedly, "Good, good, good. They indeed are some fucking good people, eh? They have once bullied others and they unexpectedly want to bully even more. The four you stay in the hospital obediently. I'll take care of this matter with Tai Long." Banzhou quickly said, "Boss, you've got to be careful. I know that you are very powerful and your fighting skill is amazing. But Tai Long has deep roots. I've sent someone to ask around, he has much power and influence in Star City. Not only is he quite a powerful chief labor contractor, he also has a group of thugs under him, and they are also inextricably linked with those in the underworld." Tang Shou squinted his eyes as he said with a sneer, "Only if he's strong enough will he be able to accompany me playing and make me satisfied. You don't have to worry about anything." In this world, enemies who could make this Tang Shou afraid are perhaps only a few. He was not boasting. Although he did have to cultivate more to solidify his cultivation base, but his assassination ability, if he said that he was not the first, nobody dared to say they were second. The assassination stealth technique, attacking with paper talismans, he was even able to kill tens of thousands of enemies with the art of poison. He had once roamed through the immortal world and mixed with those of heretical and lowest kinds of people in the lowest societies, who used countless means of tricks and methods. "Give me the detailed information about that Tai Long." "Okay." 10 minutes after, Tang Shou had gotten the info about Tai Long. He was not a passive person, and rather took the initiative to take down the enemies. This was Tang Shou's style. After having went out of the inpatient department, Tang Shou got quite a headache. He had no car, and handling this matter was very inconvenient without it. So he considered that after he had taken the college entrance test, should he take the test to get his driver's license? When Tang Shou had just went out of the front entrance of the Chinese medical hospital, his keen sense caught the presence of some youngsters who moved slovenly in the surroundings. From time to time they looked at him. Their hairs were dyed with outlandish clothes. They also seemed to have something inside their sleeves, which were apparently the likes of clubs and other weapons. It should be them. Tang Shou's complexion turned cold as he quickly locked onto one of the most distinct young thugs and brushed past him. "Hey, punk, come over here." Tang Shou stopped outside, 6 or 7 meters in front of him, as he showed his middle finger to provoke him. The young man who had long hair dyed with grayish-violet color, and had a few earrings on his ear. He was not handsome, and had some scars that marked some of the glory of his life history. The most nauseating thing from him was that he had a pungent smell of perfume taste, but also wore a cosmetic contact lens. "Who are you calling bastard?" The young man stared at Tang Shou as he scolded and walked slowly toward him. Tang Shou indifferently said, "I don't want to beat up the wrong person, so I want to ask you. You're Tai Long's lapdog, aren't you? If you are, call your fucking buddies and follow me." For a moment, the youth stared blankly as he wildly laughed immediately the second after. "Brothers, did you hear what this fucking bastard said? He wants us to follow him?" "You're so damn fucking right that this Big Daddy is Big Brother Long's man. You fucking idiot knows Big Brother Long, no? If you're no idiot, just fucking kneel down and kowtow to us and yell grandpa. You do have some fucking good fate that here is the hospital's front gate." Tang Shou sneered. That young man rolled his eyes. The way he looked at Tang Shou was as though he looked at an idiot. More than 20 youths in the surroundings, each and every one of them also let out all kinds of jeers, laughs, and mockeries. They simply did not regard Tang Shou as a sane person. They only felt strange and thought that Tang Shou was a mental sickness patient that mistakenly came to the wrong hospital. Yo brat, the mental hospital is in the eastern outer ring. This place is a Chinese medical hospital. If your brain is dead sick, you've gotta hurry to dump yourself to the mental hospital. Get the fuck out, this big daddy has no interest to beat up such a crazy idiot shit like you. In order to anger them, Tang Xiu goaded to let them ganging up to beat him in the public place. Then, he spoke with an indifferent expression, you all have mental illnesses, even your whole families are fucking crazy. You are all should be the local hoodlums, no? Then your local hoodlums 18 generation of ancestors were also the fucking crazy mentally sick people. What the fuck? The youth was stupefied. And the other youth thugs around also looked at each other in dismay. Never in their dreams had they ever thought that Tang Xiu even dared to curse at them. In a split second after, a tall youth who was drinking soy milk smashed the milk box toward Tang Xiu as he lifted his leg to kick him. Humph. Tang Xiu easily avoided the soybean milk box which was thrown at him. The murderous intent inside his heart was incensed by several points. His leg flew and kicked back. The speed was even faster than the youth, several folds faster, and directly kicked him on the chest. Puff. A mouthful of blood sprayed out from the youth's mouth. His eyes turned white as his body was thrown upside down for 7 or 8 meters. Although Tang Xiu did not kick him to the death, but that kick had given him severe internal injuries as he directly fainted after he hit the ground. More than 20 youth thugs in the surroundings instantly sobered up from their dazed state. Upon seeing their companion was easily overthrown by Tang Xiu and fainted directly, they suddenly got stuck with shocks. However, they thought that 2 fists were difficult to contend against 4 hands. Even if Tang Xiu had a little strength, but still he would not be able to endure the punches from all of them. Chang, Huzai, Dadong, Xiao Yang, the 4 of you accompany this brat to practice. He dares to hit our brother. I wanna fucking see him how much weight he'll be able to carry. An over 30-year-old man who was leaning up nearby spoke as coldness flashed in his eyes, pointing some of his gang members as to pick who were going to teach Tang Xiu. Done. 4 youths simultaneously extracted out a hollow steel pipe from their sleeves and quickly surrounded Tang Xiu. Almost in the instant moment of movements, they waved their steel pipe together and smashed at Tang Xiu. You all fucking overestimate yourselves. Tang Xiu's feet moves as his body instantly appeared in front of Chang. His fist directly bombarded Chang's face. By the time a few of Chang's teeth were thrown out, he also kicked him flying. Whilst easily avoiding the other 3 steel pipes that hit him, Tang Xiu used the simplest style as he sent the straight punches, uppercuts, and flying kicks. From the first movements and the combo strikes afterwards, it took no more than 5 seconds as the other 3 young bullies were also hit and were downed to the ground. Moreover, he was harsh and ruthless in his actions as each and every one of them had a few broken bones. The over 30-years-old man's pupils shrunk. Seeing such invincible might posture, Tang Xiu sent out, a fury expression rose to his face. In an instant, he strode over toward Tang Xiu as he shouted with a stern voice, fuck him up together. And waste him. Tang Xiu did not bat an eyelid as his movements and actions became faster. Having the instinct to watch the lively fun and commotion was human nature. The scene which Tang Xiu being ganged up by more than 20 people attracted a lot of passers-by as they stopped by to watch it. After Tang Xiu easily hit and knocked down 5 youth thugs, many people showed a shocked expression and quickly got palpitated and scared as they saw that nearly 20 youths armed with weapons stormed over at Tang Xiu. They watched the scene with hearts full of anxiousness and restlessness for Tang Xiu. That young man is really unlucky. How could he get into such a big trouble? He does fight very good, to even be able to knock down 5 thugs in one breath. But now, it is nearly 20 people, it's not what one person's strength is able to fight. These ruffians are too rampant to even blatantly commit such a violent crime in front of the hospital's gate. Don't they fear that they will be punished by laws? Don't you know that the same thing happened in the morning? A young man was hit in front of this hospital's entrance and looks like those bastards were the ones who did it. They are truly too rampant, but the hospital did not even act. How will they be able to prevent it? They are beating people outside the hospital. Moreover, by the time the hospital's security rushed over, those ruffians would have already run away after they beat people, so where they have to look for them? Today, the police have come, but those people ran and took the taxi as if they intentionally avoided the cops. I really want to help that young man and drive away those thugs. In this broad daylight and clear daytime, these fucking bastards have been too rampant. Tang Xiu acted very fast. His fist punched their bodies as his body moved lightning fast. Even though he only used 10% of his strength, in just a short of more than 10 seconds time, nearly 20 young thugs had been knocked down. Even those who had some martial arts skills were seriously wounded and spat out blood. Those young bullies' bodies curled up everywhere as painful and miserable wails howled from their mouths with each, and every one of them were in extremely miserable states. Steel pipes fell on their side while sharp weapons could be seen everywhere on the ground. At this moment, the entire surrounding turned deathly stillness as the onlookers' eyes turned big as saucers. They subconsciously raised their hands to cover their mouths. It was a shocking scene. Each and every one of them could clearly feel that their hearts were palpitating faster, their bodies even turned weak. Such a horror-thrilling taste was just like tides swept inside everyone's heart.